One Dog and His Boy, Chapter 24, Albina Grovels. Albina was on the floor on her hands and knees, making odd noises, clucking noises, then cooing noises, then wheedling noises. The floor was not the carpeted floor of her London house. It was the rough boarded floor of the cottage, covered only in a worn rug. "Please, Fleck, please, I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean it. Please come out and let's be friends." Hal's parents had arrived an hour earlier. Hal had allowed himself to be embraced, but only politely, and Fleck had taken one look at Albina, growled horribly, and vanished under the sofa. "It's no good," said Hal. "He'll never forget what you did." "Can't you make him come out?" begged Albina. "No, and if I could I wouldn't," said Hal. Donald had gone out with his parents to look at the boat, and Hal and his mother were alone. Albina tried again. Marnie had given her a bone, and she wagged it back and forth under the sofa, but Fleck ignored it. Groveling on the floor, she went on making what she hoped were wooing noises. Then she put her hand under the sofa and pulled it back with a cry as Fleck's teeth fastened on her fingers. "Oh, what shall I do?" she cried, getting to her feet. "Look at my tights, they're ruined, and my skirt." She went over to the table and sat down. Then she let her head fall forward onto her hands and began to sob. For a few moments, Hal, sitting opposite, just let her cry. Then something horrible happened. The anger he had felt with his parents began to get weaker and weaker still. He missed it badly, this rage that had kept him going on his adventure. But there was nothing to be done about it. It was gone. His mother had done a wicked thing. She was foolish and misguided. But she was his mother. He put an arm around Albina. "It's all right," he said. "It's over. It's all right." And at that moment, Fleck came out from under the sofa and trotted over to the table. It was forgiving time, it seemed, and he flopped down between Albina and Hal and yawned and went to sleep. Later that afternoon, Hal went for a walk along the dunes with his father. The last week, when he had not known whether his son was dead or alive, had changed Donald Fenton. It was as though Hal's love for his grandparents made him see his old home as he had seen it when he was a boy. He no longer felt like sneering at the shabby cottage, the old boat with its temperamental engine. While Hal was with his mother, Donald had been out and emptied the lobster pots and helped Alec fix the pump on the Pagadi. It was a screwdriver that Donald now wore behind his ear, not a gadget connecting him with New York. "You really like it up here, don't you?" said Donald. "Yes, I really do. And so does Fleck." Donald sighed. Fleck was here to stay, but he was not going to make life easier. "What about Oaklands? We took a lot of trouble getting you in there." "I'm not going to boarding school," said Hal. "I told you, I'm not leaving Fleck. What I'd like to do is stay here and live with my grandparents. There's a school in Seaville." "Yes, I know. I was there for 7 years." Hal looked up at his father. He was staring out at the sea, and he looked stern. Or was it sad? "You like it so much better here than being with us? Than being at home?" asked Donald, and Hal could not help hearing the hurt in his voice. "It's not exactly like that," said Hal. "I wouldn't like never to be at home again." He thought of the blonde girl in the park and Joel, the school friend he'd been pretending to stay with. And now, of course, there was Pippa and his parents, who had got everything so wrong, but who were trying now. Perhaps in their own way, they had always tried. "Could I stay here for another month? I've missed so much school anyway. Then I'll get Flick trained." Donald turned to his son and smiled with relief. There wasn't going to be a battle. Hal was going to come home. "I don't see why not," he said. "I'll come and fetch you and spend a few days. It's time I had a break." But people do not change completely, however hard they try. I'd like to buy you something really nice, Hal. It can cost as much as you like. I mean it. The sky's the limit. Hal looked at him for a long time. All I ever wanted was a dog, he said. But as Donald's face fell, Hal had an idea. Actually, there is something I'd like. I'd like it a lot, but it's not exactly for me. It's for Pippa's family. I'd never have made it here if it wasn't for Pippa. They're really hard up. If you could help them, then perhaps they could start up something for themselves. Kaylee shouldn't be working for Mr. Carker anyway. He's an awful man. Maybe they wouldn't have to know where the money came from. Donald nodded. Consider it done, he said, and they turned and made their way back to the cottage.